Well, Donald Trump hates Canada.
Do the tariffs work? Yes or no? Answer.
And the way to do that is to remind them that we can blow up their economies.
I'll be honest, I was very skeptical of the Canada and Mexico tariffs, but after I saw what I'm going to share with you today, it was case closed. Okay, so I understand the China tariffs because we don't want to rely on our enemy, put simply, right? Okay? But Canada and Mexico, these are more like our friends. Why would we want to engage in a trade war with our allies? And this guy put it as far as to say that Trump hates Canadians. Watch this.
Well, Donald Trump hates Canada, one of our closest allies, our neighbor. In fact, he just destroyed them. He went after them and said, we don't need them for anything. We don't need oil. We don't need food. We don't need any lumber. We don't need any agriculture. We don't need nothing. Then he turned around and says, well, they probably make a good pitch per state. They probably would like to be part of the country. I don't think so. But this is how crazy he sounds, because he doesn't quite get it that 40% of General Motors vehicles are made in Canada and shipped over the border to Detroit. It's very common. And lumber is a big item sent to the U.S. And of course, gas and oil consumed by the Midwest states and New England states. So if you want to go after Canada, they could easily say, we don't care. We can just slow everything down. You know what? No problem. We can put 100%. They're talking about doing this 100% tariff on Tesla. Also, Ontario canceled a major contract with Starlink. Yep, it's worth close to 68 to 100 million, and they canceled that today. They tore it up, so we're not dealing with Elon Musk. And so that's what's going on. Trump hates Canada, and he also hates you, the American people. Wake up.
Okay, so let's unpack this. First of all, just because Trump wants to do a tariff on Canadian imports does not mean he hates the Canadian people, right? I hope you guys all know that already. And number two, it looks like more like 14% of GM vehicles are made in Canada, not 40%. So I will assume the best that he just got wrong information there. And number three, he was talking about how much we need Canada for energy. Okay, he's right about this, but he ignores that America is a net energy exporter. So even though it would be a horrible idea, if we cut off all energy imports from everywhere, we would technically have enough energy to power ourselves. Not a good idea, but we don't actually need them. So after seeing this, I didn't think Trump hated Canadians, like this guy said, but I didn't know why we would want to do tariffs, because it still seemed like not the best idea. But after Charlie Kirk explained it, it clicked.
The terrorists that are coming across the border, and Canada with Trudeau and Steinbaum in Mexico have not cared a scintilla about closing their border or mobilizing the military to help stop it. Tariffs are a long-term play. This is not about a week of stock market swerves. This is about three things. First, we are serious about using tariffs to force Mexico and Canada to take our border seriously. They've been happy to do nothing and let the entire world pour into our country, illegally, for criminal or for welfare reasons. We want them to be serious about helping fix this. And the way to do that is to remind them that we can blow up their economies.
So now it finally made sense to me for these tariffs. China, because they're the enemy, we don't want to rely on the enemy. And Canada and Mexico, because we have so many illegals coming in, and we need them to stop putting all the pressure on us to secure our border, right? Right now, it's all us on the border, and we need them to help us with that. But do they actually work in the real world? That's what I wondered next. And this guy, who was a skeptic of tariffs, actually explained it in a really nice way, which I'll share with you right now.
There are many people who have been taught to believe that tariffs are bad. And me too. Most of us have been educated in a kind of macroeconomics that holds tariffs to be by themselves bad. To be honest, there's a part of me that still thinks they are bad. Trade wars in general are bad, and for reasons that we did learn. However, I do want to say that a lot of the economics that we learned, even in the best schools and colleges, is wrong. The question we just want to ask ourselves with regard to tariffs, do they work? Do they produce the result? And I want to argue that in Trump's case, the tariffs seem to be working because Canada is reconsidering its border policies. Mexico is reconsidering its border policies. So I ask you, given this, if the goal of the tariffs on Mexico was to spring those guys into action to seal the border or help seal the border, do the tariffs work? Yes or no? Answer, yes.
So we have the reason now. We have evidence that they often work in the real world, and these Trump tariffs are showing signs of working. But you and me, as the American consumer, have a right to be concerned about our grocery prices and everything else prices, because if these imports are getting taxed, obviously, who's going to pay? Most likely us, which is why so many people are opposed to tariffs. And they say, oh, Trump promised lower prices. Now he's doing tariffs. It's going to be horrible. Well, let's look at a real-world example of a massive tariff.
One of the most famous tariffs that we talk about on this program is that there is a 25% import tariff to this day that Lyndon Baines Johnson put on the books on pickup trucks. Do you know that every pickup truck you see on the highway has a 25% tariff? So how does Toyota avoid the pickup truck tariff? They don't need to re-headquarter the Japanese company. That's never, ever been the ask. We don't want Porsche to be headquartered in New Canaan, Connecticut. No, you just make the actual product here. And that is what Toyota does for their pickup truck. That is what Nissan does for their pickup truck.
That is literally a huge tariff. 25% of 40,000 is a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that would be affected by that. And I'm sure there were some short-term pains from that with automakers having to build factories here domestically. But now, almost no one is affected by it. You aren't affected by it. I'm not affected by it. Maybe some new startup in China is affected by it. But the long-term play here is that the factory is in the US, so we are not relying on other countries as much. Plus, it's no more expensive and hopefully cheaper if we can cut out the shipping costs of shipping these products overseas, especially something big like a truck. So we've seen the reasons why we want to do these tariffs. We see that they work, and we've seen a real life example where a tariff, a big tariff, did not raise prices for you and I, the American people. So for me, that's clear enough evidence that Trump knows what he's doing here. I don't like to just follow whatever he says, but it seems to be doing the right thing here, and I hope these things go well. Obviously, the Canada and Mexican tariffs were delayed by a month, but we will see what happens, and peace out, subscribe. See ya.